The challenge is Metroid. The power is Nintendo. Defend the planet Xephus against the evil Mother Brain. It's survival or destruction. Do battle or die. Metroid only from Nintendo.
A dream is a realm within the mind. Everything within that dream is a false reality. Whatever your mind can come up with during the subconscious state only exists within that reality. Some use dreams as an escape from reality to cope with specific issues. You feel as if nothing is worth living for, so you trap yourself within that dream. And soon, you see yourself become those very things you fear when you're conscious. Besides dreams, what are other ways some people may find ways to escape reality? It could be reading a book, drawing, watching a movie, or in most cases, playing video games.
Meet the challenge of gyrobites. When you shoot the light-sensing zapper.
In the 1980s, the world was quickly evolving with technological advancements and cultural impact. Nuclear tensions were rising, The Princess Bride was released, and the Nintendo Entertainment System was dominating the video game industry. The NES was captivating audiences with titles such as Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, Punch-Out!, and Kirby's Adventure. Among the influx of new interactive video entertainment, Nintendo released 2 games, Metroid and Castlevania. While I have never played Castlevania myself, Metroid has been one of my favorite games on the NES. The release of these 2 games solidified Nintendo's dominance in the gaming market until November 2012.
Dude, put that thing away! They're like children here!
But before that, they had maintained a mostly clean record for their games and consoles. Metroidvania, a term coined from combining Metroid and Castlevania, embodies a captivating style of gameplay characterized by the interconnected explorable worlds, non-linear progression, and often gated areas that can only be accessed after obtaining an item or weapon. Players typically control a protagonist who gains new abilities or upgrades over time, allowing them to access previously inaccessible areas and uncover hidden secrets. Throughout the years, Metroidvania-type games have popped up on game shelves everywhere, some of the most popular ones being Blasphemous, Hollow Knight, and Celeste. However, while scrolling through the Steam store page, I had one game catch my eye. Pseudoregalia is a Metroidvania-type 3D platformer with some great movement mechanics. Pseudoregalia, from my understanding, is a Latin or Greek name meaning false castle or kingdom. I really could not figure out a definitive answer. I really tried. Please bear with me. Anyways, Pseudoregalia was released on July 28th, 2023, almost a year as of recording this. Initially, a Game Jam submission quickly became an instant hit, and when the game's creator Ritzler, not Rizzler, released a full version on Steam. It did not take long for this game to become big, having 97% overwhelmingly positive reviews. The game was quickly loved by many, while the negative reviews seemed useless. Now you're probably thinking, cool, Largebean, what's the big deal? Get on with the game already. Before we dive in, let me outline the sections of this video. The first section will delve into gameplay, providing an in-depth exploration of my experience during a 100% playthrough. I'll cover what to expect, what to do, and how to do it, offering insights into the mechanics and strategies that shape the game. Next, we'll unveil the story of Pseudoregalia. While this won't be a complete lore overview, as even I had difficulty piecing together the narrative, I'll do my best to interpret and convey the essence of the story. Finally, we'll conclude with my thoughts and opinions on the game. I'll discuss what I enjoyed, what I disliked, and why. Now, with hopefully a good understanding of the game's history, let's dive straight into the gameplay of Pseudoregalia. We start the game by walking out of a mirror. This is Sybil, our main protagonist. Immediately we find ourselves in an area called the Dilapidated Dungeon. In the next room, there's some basic platforms. Find spots that are inaccessible right now, but we'll be able to access them later when we're stronger. After a while, we will find this massive room with a glowing object at the end of it. We run in, jump, and unlock the Dream Breaker. This is our main weapon, and will hold plenty of utility as we explore the world. Immediately, I see this obvious breakable wall, so I do just that and break the wall. We encountered our first enemy. If anything, this enemy reminds me of that one weird Sonic game that was supposed to be a restored copy of a lost Sonic game. Let's just hope that this game does not take too much inspiration from that. Walking into this room here, we find this floating blue crystal. Hitting it will cause it to explode and save our game. Be sure to use these as often as possible, because if you fail to save after an hour session and you happen to die, your ass is getting booted back to the last save, so please be sure to save as often as possible. Walking through this doorway here leads to another floating orb. Collecting it will grant us the ability to slide. You may have noticed some holes on the walls near the floor. This slide is how we can squeeze past those holes. You may notice that after I get this power, I use it to move around a lot. That's because pressing one button to make yourself go slightly faster is always super fun. That's why I run the dash perk in Deep Rock, and why I miss ult made for this. See this door? That's an obvious lock right there. In classic Legend of Zelda fashion, we need to find ourselves a key. Here's where we fight our first boss. I have absolutely no clue what his name is. Anyways, it is your standard first boss fight. The graphics of the game, it can be difficult to understand where his attacks will land at first. Just be sure to use your slide a lot and attack when it seems that he's in a fatigued state. If you get low health, you can press and hold F. Sybil will hold the Dreambreaker above her head and hit an invisible bell, which will heal you. Similar to Hollow Knight, you will need to find somewhere safe to do this, as you will be extremely vulnerable. Doing this consumes your power level, which I will get into later. For now, you need to kill this undead warrior. With our first boss defeated, we can now progress to the new area with our small key we earned. Jumping over the small pit, we make it to the next area of the game, the Castle Sansa. Exploring for a short time, you'll eventually find this room with another upgrade in the center. Indignation is a passive upgrade that gets stronger depending on your power level, which is this bar on the side of your screen. Power level 1 does nothing. Power level 2 increases the range of your attack, as you can see with this small visual. Power level 3 will increase your damage. You can build up your power by attacking enemies. You can also use this power level to heal, as I mentioned earlier. Yo, what's up? So, the audio file got corrupted, so I am here now, about a week later, re-recording the whole damn thing from this point on. So, yeah, let's get right back into it. As you explore the castle, it'll begin to become like an endless maze of just hallways and areas. You will be wandering a lot in this world with little to no idea what the hell you're supposed to do. If you're not good with navigation like me, I'd recommend searching up a map online. Here's one I found by Andres of Astora on the Pseudoregalia community page. It does tell you where every item is, so if considering this is cheating is up to you, honestly. If you like a map without the items, here's one I made, still using Andres' design, but I just removed the items. Anyways, if you manage your way through the world, you will eventually make it to this area named the Empty Bailey. This is where you'll get your next movement upgrade. Navigating through this dilapidated town, you'll run into these new enemies. Tuba Kids, Living Swords, Spiked Wheels, Thunder Hands, Living Armor, and Handmaids. Tuba Kids will blow their tuba, sending out these musical notes. That can hurt you. You can either send the notes back or damage the Tuba Kids directly. Living Swords will fling themselves at you. While slightly more difficult to dodge, you can easily kill these ones. Just be sure to move out of the way before they fling. Spiked Wheels don't attack, they just roll around on the ground. While they seem useless, they will play a slightly more important role later. Thunder Hands. These guys, like the Tuba Kids, will send out projectiles that you can hit back. So honestly, you can just stand below them and mash the attack button, and it'll kill them in like 2 seconds. Living Armor is very similar to the boss from earlier, but with slightly less health, and I believe the attacks aren't as fast. Just like the boss from earlier, just be sure to continuously dodge them until you have an opening to attack. And finally, we have the Handmaids. These maids have 2 attacks. They will summon these evil plates that will then home on Sybil. These maids can also hurt you physically by swinging their feet at you. Oh, and if you happen to run into these guys, don't worry too much. While they seem intimidating, they don't attack you at all. They're just there for jumping off of, which we can't do at this point in the game right now. Jumping up on these buildings right here and going into this bigger building, using your slide to fit into this small little area, you will get to your next upgrade, the Solar Wind. Solar Wind allows you to jump after a slide, making running around super fun. This allows you to jump over gaps you wouldn't normally. But I like to go zoom and it's fun. Just look at me go. Boom! Enter the next area. The Sansa Keep is a little bit easier to understand in terms of layout. There is a central area with branching paths. As you can see, there are some paths that are blocked and require a key. Luckily for us, there is a key in this area. Walking into this room right here and jumping across these poles, you'll eventually end up in this room here. And you can see a key in the distance there. We collect it, head back to the main hallway, and unlock this door. This door specifically, be sure it is this door. We will end up in this big room with a breakable wall. Breaking this wall and climbing up the room will grant us our next power upgrade, the Sunsetter. this not only allows us to ground pound, but in Mario fashion, you can jump after you land to do the special jump, which sends you higher than a normal jump would. You can also use this ground pound to destroy destructible ground. The next area we will be exploring is the listless library. I find this area interesting because you can go up to these bookshelves and read some of the descriptions of the books, such as this cookbook that apparently makes you go insane due to its culinary secrets, a book about reading, or this story about a jester who was sent to be killed by the king only to steal the sun as his final trick. Whatever that means. Luckily, the listless library is a very small area, so finding the next upgrade shouldn't be difficult. You can find the next upgrade in this block of ice. Yeah, you can break it. I didn't know that. It didn't take me 20 minutes to figure out how to open it, but when you break it, you obtain the sun greaves. With these sun greaves, while you're in the air, you can press the jump button to do an air kick. If you hit a wall, you can kick off the wall and wall jump. You can only do this 3 times while in the air, afterwards you will fall. The counter resets when you touch the ground, very similar to how Ultra Kill's wall jumps work. Using the sun grooves can be difficult to get used to, but eventually you will begin to understand the angles, timing, and distances you need to reach your objective. Heading back into the dilapidated dungeon and going into this strange cave-like area, I was so damn lost until I noticed that this wall seemed off. At first I thought I was going to wake up 10 years in the past. I soon realized that this damn wall was breakable, so I broke it. You'll end up in this very dark area. Your Dream Breaker should emit some light. You can also throw the Dream Breaker with a tab. This is the only use I got out of this function here. I don't know if I missed something from earlier. I don't know if it does damage, but this is the only time I used it and I forgot about it afterwards. And now we make it to our next area, the Underbelly. This area is by far the largest in the entire game. While being more linear than most of the other areas, navigating it can be a damn challenge. Luckily, with where we are now, it is very closed and small. You'll reach this room with a cage-like center. Basically, what you need to do here is hit these switches, which will cause the center cage to lift up. You need to hit all 10 switches so you can reach this pole at the top of the room, which will allow you to get access to a new upgrade, Ascend Light. You may have noticed these black holes around the world. They don't do anything except exist up until you get this upgrade. Ascendant Light allows you to attack both these black holes and enemies to get some extra height. Remember those spinny spiky dudes from earlier? Those guys are perfect for this. The next room shows you using this upgrade on those enemies specifically, but you can do it on any enemy. I managed to make it back to the Sansa Keep, which is where we can get another upgrade for ourselves. Hopping off this block here allows us to break this wall and enter this doorway. You may notice this giant green barrier here, which I will get into in a minute. But first, let's see what's in this next area. After defeating this handmaid, we unlock our next upgrade, the Strike Breaker. This allows us to hold down the attack button and use a charge attack. This not only can do extra damage on the enemies. Remember those green barriers from earlier? Well, you can break those with this upgrade. Trust me, we're almost done with the upgrades. When entering the Empty Bailey, from this main entrance, you may notice a bridge above you. If you can manage to get up there, run past these idiots, you will arrive at a new area. The Tower Remains. This is a very important location, as we will visit it for the endgame. But we're not in the endgame right now, so let's just focus on getting the upgrades. Jump on the outside of the tower until you reach the first roof. You can immediately see the next upgrade across the room through this window. Jump on the weird spire on the right of the room, and boom, you've unlocked, debatably, one of the best movement upgrades in the game. The Cling Gem allows you to cling onto walls by holding shift, so we'll then slide against the wall in a horizontal fashion. After a couple of seconds, you will begin to slow down, but you can reset the Cling Gem by regrabbing a wall an infinite amount of times. We will now collect our final upgrade. Head over to the Twilight Theater. Depending on where you enter from the theater, you're going to have to do this very difficult jump to reach the theater itself. This jump took me like 10 minutes to do. I swear, on God, I am not bad at this game, I swear to God. On stage, you can see this doorway here. That is where our last upgrade is. The route to get this is very linear, so I'm just going to play the clip of me collecting it. Now we have the Soul Cutter. Not only can we charge our weapon, but when we do, we send out a small projectile that can not only damage enemies, but interact with switches. Awesome, now that we have all of our upgrades, we can finally head towards the endgame. You may have noticed these golden keys laying around the world. These are our endgame objectives. We need to collect all 5 to open the final door. These stones here have hints to where those keys are. Collecting every upgrade will make this key collecting a million times easier. Unless you're able to cheese some of the platforming, then go ahead. Like how I accidentally grabbed this key in the Empty Bailey by running across this roof and jumping just on top of it. You're supposed to use the ground pound and wall jumps to get up to it, but I did this by accident, so that works. Anyways, there's a key in the Twilight Theater on the stage. You have to flip 2 levers you can find in the south corners of the theater. Pretty straightforward. Back in the Sansa Keep, if you have this door open which leads to the black holes, then go through it. You'll end up in this room with a hallway that has poison on the ground. At this point, you should have mastered your movement, so getting through this should be very easy. Eventually, you'll end up in this room full of enemies, and this lever. When you go through this door right next to the lever, you'll end up in the main room. And if you go at the end of the hallway, you may have noticed this giant gate at the end of it. It will now be open, which is where our next key is. Our 4th key is in this big room in the underbelly. Using your movement to hit this lever, then using your solar wind to activate those other levers, you'll easily have access to the key at the end of the room. If you haven't yet, collect the final key on top of the tower remains by the endgame door, and open the final level. Now before we get into this endgame, I like to mention that there are also health upgrades and something called aspects. Instead of just hand-holding the entire time, I'll just quickly tell you what to do because I want you to play this game and I want you to experience it yourself. Good Graces increases your healing power by 50%. You can collect 2 of these. Clear Mind increases your power level bar by 1 after you collect all 3 of the pieces. Pilgrimage allows you to walk while healing. Empathy allows you to get bonus power from attacking. You can collect 2 of these. Martial Prowess grants extra damage. Aerial Finesse, allowing you to quickly recover after being hit by a heavy attack by pressing the spacebar or whatever your jump button is. And finally, Helical Power, which grants you a 4th kick for your Sun Greaves. That's all the aspects. As for the extra health, you can find health upgrades all over the map. You need to collect at least 3 to get an extra circle, heart, health state. Now that we got all of that out of the way, let us walk into the final area. Huh? We're fighting a princess. Well, if you were to pay attention to the NPCs around the world, you can piece together that the land had recently become run down and ruined. The princess decides to do nothing but enslave everyone she can. There is no peace in the world, so it is your job to defeat this corrupt power. The final boss fight is pretty straightforward. Dodge her attacks and cave her dome in. Her attacks are all mainly projectile based, which you can easily send back with the Dreambreaker. There's only one attack that you really need to watch out for. She does this weird spin tornado thing. If you get hit by this, then you'll be sent into a knockback state and drop your Dreambreaker, which isn't good because after this attack, it's a perfect time to get some hits in. But when you're running across the stage to grab your Dreambreaker, you'll never have enough time to take this window of opportunity. Also, she has imaginary technique. But just like Gojo, she goes down very easily. Wow, what a beautiful game. But what does it mean exactly? Well, bear with me because I'm not sure myself. With what I've gathered, I believe I have a good understanding of the story. Sybil is a dream traveler of some sort. Her goal is to go from dream to dream and free people from their dream state. In this case, it's the princess. According to Edgy As Real Dreamer on Steam, the princess's name is Sansa. Sansa is of Sanskrit origins, the name meaning praise or charm. I can't find any connections to this name, but that is her name allegedly, which does match the name of the areas, but just like the name of the game, I have no clue what it could mean. As for Sybil, in Greek, her name means prophetess or oracle. Prophetess meaning female prophet. An oracle refers to a place or person through which divine messages or prophecies are delivered. Sybil is sent into Sansa's dream to free her of this false reality. Sansa is afraid of the outside world and humanity's horrors, ironically becoming that evil in her subconscious state. Sybil dresses up as the harmless creatures in this world and begins on her journey. After collecting all of her upgrades and keys to open the distorted memory realm, she is able to wake Sansa up. After a short speech from Sansa, she states that she would like to get into photography and find passion in something she finds interested in. A reason to live. She thanks Sybil and the screen fades black. We are booted back to the home screen where we can see Sybil floating in the black abyss full of dreams in the form of white orbs, traveling to her next mission. Pseudoregalia is a fun and interesting movement-based 3D Metroidvania. While it's been one of the best games I've played in recent times, there are a couple of things I'd like to point out. The first being a lack of a map. Most Metroidvanias have a map in them. They update as you progress through the world. However, I also believe that the lack of a map really sells the idea of the dreams being like an unknown realm. The lack of the map can sell that concept. So, you guys aren't gonna believe this, but basically, while I was editing this video, Ritzler decided to come out with a new update for the game, which not only included some quality of life improvements such as key bindings, but he also added a map. Yeah, he added a ton of stuff to the game. Here's a picture of the patch notes. So yeah, if you decide to play this game now, it'll definitely be a lot better, considering that there is a new map system. It's a power-up called Memento, and it works exactly like Hollow Knight. Yeah, super cool. Thanks, guys. Oh yeah, and shout out to these guys. Not that my shout out would matter, but shout out to these guys. Oh yeah, and another thing Ritzler added was these new outfits that you can earn. You earn these by completing time trials that are scattered around the world. There's one time trial per world, except for the distorted memory. Here are a couple of the outfits that you can earn. Personally, I really like the Sleepy Time outfit, but I mean, all of them are really cool, don't get me wrong. But yeah, so it does nothing. It's completely cosmetic, but I just think it's super cool that Ritzler would go out of their way to add this. So yeah. Second, as I played the game, there were pages on these tables. Supposedly, this was supposed to have lore on them, but because of time, they were never implemented, which is a shame because I would love to learn more about the in-game lore. Other than those two things, I think this game is almost perfect and fun to play. For being Ritzler's first game on Steam, I'm impressed how well it's made. Ritzler is currently working on a 3D platformer roguelike called Electrokinetic, and believe me, when this game comes out, I will be playing it. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. Thank you for listening to a loser talk about a Metroidvania furry bait game for
23
minutes. This video took a very long time to make. It was also very different from what I usually make. I thought I'd try this format out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I might make more in the future. We'll just see what happens. But for now, I guess that's it. So thanks for watching.